Is Lethality Lucian back? What about top lane Rengar after his recent buffs? We've got these answers along with many more OP off-meta champs or builds you need to be abusing for 12.6. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Many Korean Ukshin players have deviated away from crit and are prioritizing a lethality mythic. Most notably, the Shy and Doran have been loving the core build of Eclipse into Stormrazor 2nd and Fire Cannon 3rd. With the lethality from Eclipse and on-hit damage from Stormrazor, the build has more of a bursty, snowball-y kind of feel. Especially into heavy, squishy compositions, this is where the build will provide maximum value. With a lead, you can pop out of stealth and annihilate the enemy in an instant. Your ultimate damage will be much higher with this setup as well, so you can be so oppressive with how you play. Once you complete Rapid Fire Cannon, popping out of stealth, using a Q and an auto followed up with ultimate can 100 to 0 a squishy. The rune page is PTA with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. So far after the Bloodline changes, Alacrity is heavily outperforming it. You can't go wrong with Shield Bash and Bone Plating for secondaries. Although Rengar is more commonly played in the jungle, top lane is seeing the most success in 12.6. Rengar got a ton of buffs this patch, but one that really amplifies his top lane power is the fact Q damage now applies to towers. This turns Rengar's side lane presence up another level, especially on Essence Reaver completion. By running Flash with Ignite, you have immense early kill threat, and the ability to snowball off of just one early kill is insane. By playing around top lane brush, you have some of the most disgusting zone control, and if you manage to set a freeze near your tower, the enemy won't be able to walk up at all if you have a lead. Core build is an Eclipse Rush followed by Essence Reaver 2nd and the Collector 3rd. Run Conqueror as the keystone with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Optimal secondaries include Second Wind and Revitalize. Tank Nocturne is one of the most unique builds popping up as of recent. The core is a Frostfire Gauntlet Rush into Frozen Heart 2nd and Winter's Approach 3rd. The idea behind the build is to provide your team with a reliable engage and be more of a disruptor. With the tank build, you're almost guaranteed to make the enemy ADC useless in every single teamfight. Proccing your fear is way more reliable with the setup, and with the Frozen Heart attack speed slow, enemy ADC will have a super difficult time kiting away from you. Think about it like this. You're playing a tank that can point and click on a high priority target from an insane range and make sure they do nothing in that fight. Of course, you're lacking damage, but that's not what this style of Nocturne is about. Since the build does revolve around Frozen Heart, which is a heavy armor item, it's best to prioritize this setup into AD comps. Stride into Maw is definitely the way to go when against mostly AP. Rune setup is Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Grab Domination for secondaries with Eyeball Collector and Ultimate Hunter. Although most Graves players run Eclipse, Duskblade is super sleeper and works even better for 12.6. Prior to this patch, Duskblade had been outperforming Eclipse in solo queue, but now with Vamp Scepter nerfed, there's even more incentive to grab Dusk. Fleet was nerfed this patch as well, which means Dark Harvest indirectly becomes the more attractive keystone. Duskblade in combination with Dark Harvest is the ultimate snowball setup for Graves. The brand new rune addition in the domination tree called Treasure Hunter works perfectly for Graves too. The added gold on takedowns really feels great to accelerate your core build even faster. After completing Duskblade, second item Collector and a Cyrilda's Grudge 3rd rounds out the core. At the time of making this video, only 7% of Graves players are building Duskblade, but we expect that to change as the patch moves forward. Lucian's AD growth and AD ratio on passive were increased in 12.5, which means the Eclipse into Manamune build is highly underrated. Solo lane Lucian is where the build works best, as building crit is still the most optimal for bot lane. One-shot power and overall ability damage is much higher with this build, which allows Lucian to play more like an assassin. Whenever ultimate is available, you can look to 100 to 0 squishies with an entire culling. To make this even more lethal, you should run First Strike as the keystone. When playing around ultimate potency, press the attack won't give you very much value. First Strike adds an extra layer of damage whenever you use ultimate, which leads to even crazier burst damage. The complete core build is an Eclipse followed by Manamune and Cyrilda's Grudge. It's also very important you prioritize Lucidity boots over Greaves, as you favor shorter ability cooldowns over greater attack speed. Full rune page is First Strike with free boots, biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Grab Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace for secondaries. The ultimate snowball setup for Talon has arrived in 12.6, as First Strike in combination with Treasure Hunter can lead to a ridiculous gold income. Once you acquire all Treasure Hunter stacks, your pockets are lined with an extra 550 gold. First Strike is going to generate a couple hundred gold as well before the mid-game. That's not even the half of it though, as you run free boots to save 300 gold and Futures Market to borrow gold you don't have. By running this setup, you're going to hit a Prowler's Claw spike super early on and start one-shotting everything in sight. Second item will be a Ghost Blade and rounds it out with an Edge of Night third. The majority of Jhin players have been slow to adapt in 12.6, as over 75% of them continue to run Fleet. As a result of the Fleet nerfs, its rival in Dark Harvest has taken back the spotlight. So far this patch, Dark Harvest Jhin players are winning around 3% more than Fleet users, which is quite massive. It goes to show how bad the Fleet nerfs hit Jhin, as in previous patches, the win rates of the two runes were nearly identical. This isn't to say Fleet is no longer viable for Jhin, as you can still run the rune in more difficult matchups, but the priority on Dark Harvest should be much higher than it is. The brand new Treasure Hunter rune is slotting in really nicely too. Taste of Blood and Eyeball Collector are the other primary runes, and for secondaries, grab Presence of Mind and Bloodline. Core build is standard stuff with the Gale Force Rush into the Collector second and Fire Cannon third. It's almost not even fair how broken Seraphine is as a bot lane carry right now. If your main goal is to climb and you can put your ego aside, then picking up Seraphine is an incredible strategy. The buffs Seraphine received a few patches back were the driving force in pushing her up the tier list. The consistency you'll find from playing Seraphine is what makes her so great, as you're always useful due to the utility and everything her kit provides. One of the best perks of playing the champion is that you can be so versatile with your builds. A carry-oriented setup with Liandry's or Luden's works amazing if your team is lacking in the damage department. In games where you have a couple fighter champions, for example a Viego jungle and Riven top, building a Moonstone to turn them into juggernauts is super lethal. Pick up Airy as the keystone with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Gathering Storm. Conditioning and Revitalize work great for secondaries. An incredibly undervalued support with the best gank assist for any champion is Zac. Key to success on Zac's support is controlling the side lane brush. Placing your ward down at around the 50-second mark and then basing for a sweeper is a great strategy. You want to be able to sweep away any wards the enemy places down early in lane, as using your E from Fog is what makes Zac so great. The enemy ADC has to play so respectful if they don't have vision on you, especially once you get a few points in E. Communicating with your jungler is very important because Zac's 2v2 lane power isn't anything crazy. It's his ability to set up free ganks that makes him special. The core build is an Even Shroud Rush followed by Zanya's second and Thornmail third. Run Aftershock as the keystone with Font of Life, Conditioning, and Revitalize. Triumph and Tenacity are the most optimal secondaries. Another engaged support who players need to be spamming Even Shroud on more often is Alistar. It feels like those Locket nerfs from 12.5b slipped through the cracks, and players have yet to realize it's not the best purchase any longer. Even Shroud Alistar players are enjoying around a 2% better win rate than Locket users. However, only 15% of Alistars are abusing the item. Even Shroud is such a consistent pickup for Alistar because whenever he goes in, he's 100% guaranteed to proc the damage amp. The only reason you would consider building Locket over Even Shroud is if the enemy comp has heavy burst. Locket's shield is on a 90-second cooldown, whereas the Even Shroud passive does not have one at all. Even Shroud passive also doesn't require any brain power to use, so it has more guaranteed effectiveness. Core build you need to try is an Even Shroud Rush into Zeke's second and Knight's Vow third. Glacial is the keystone with Hex Flash, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Second Wind and Unflinching are great for secondaries. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So, those are 10 of the most underrated champions or builds for patch 12.6. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you back soon.